Clap one on three. One, two, three. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of True Crime and Cocktails. We're so glad that you're here. As always, I am your host, Lauren Ash, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hostess with the mostess, Christy Oxborrow. How you feeling?
Since our last record,
Yes.
hmm, my beloved Philadelphia Flyers were eliminated from the playoffs. And I'm going to say this. One,
Hmm.
stop counting them, Christy, because you're going to there's going to be too many anyway. Um I took it better than I thought.
Hey.
I didn't completely lose it. I just want I said once we got to the second round, I just want one game. One
Hmm.
game that they win and we can move on. They came so close. In the end, I'm just so proud of those boys. I'm proud to call them my own. What a delight. Just a beautiful thing. And look, I said I took it well, but since then I have been trying to tame a wild duck. So I think that maybe I didn't take it as well. I think I pushed it down and now I'm trying to get my own flyer as it were.
I wasn't sure if you were going to bring up the duck.
Here's the thing. Don't worry, I have not approached it.
Of course, she's
I've
very respectful, folks.
I'm being very respectful. It's just twice in the last week, near my home, like on a residential street, there's been a duck.
Hmm.
Um, and I at first panicked because I thought the first one that I saw, I thought it was hurt because it was just standing there. And cars would drive by it and it would just stay put. So I'm like, is it? Then I saw it like walk two steps, which was adorable. And then I worried like what's going on. So I was Googling like how to tell if a duck is injured, where to take a duck if it's injured, what do ducks eat, how do you help a duck, all of these things. And then because it was a boy duck, and then a lady duck showed up. They had a brief moment and then they flew off together in this beautiful moment that I was like, I was very upset that I didn't get a video of it, but
Mm.
I was in the middle of voice noting you, so I couldn't stop. So instead, you got the voice note of me being like, "Oh, look at them go!" Oh boy. And then a few days later, the lady duck
Hmm.
was just wandering around on my front lawn, and I'm just like, "What's that about?" And I've Googled, and the internet tells me if they're in like a residential area, they could be looking for a safe place to lay their eggs. And I've now become convinced I need to make my home a safe haven for these ducks. And I want to treat them well enough that when they go during the cold weather, that they'll come back. They'll come home to mama.
Have you seen Fly Away Home?
I have,
I
I
feel
have,
like
but not for years.
feel like maybe that's one to revisit. I don't know. I just remember there was a
Yeah.
duck theme, wasn't there?
I do
Or was
believe that
that geese?
it might have been geese. It was a young Anna Paquin.
Yeah.
Um, and I think her dad, Jeff Daniels?
Yes.
And I remember, God, I haven't seen it since the 90s. It's going on my list though. Um, but I remember it was like they found, I don't know if it was a duck or a goose, but they found the
Goose. It's
baby.
geese. I've
There it
confirmed it.
is. They found it, and then it was like they had to figure out a way to help them fly home. So they came up with some sort of little plane, but not a plane,
A
like
glider.
a glider. There it is for the girl to, because that would be safer to be around birds.
For sure.
Like, see, I haven't gone that far. I'm just like, I've even said, I'll go to the store every day. I'll get the fresh watermelon. I'll learn where to buy mealworms. I'll get the peas. I'll get whatever they need.
Now, I wonder how ducks are, because you know how crows, you can make a deal with a crow. Crow you can trade with, they'll bring you gifts, they remember faces, they hold funerals, right?
Okay.
Crows they've got the intelligence of like a child.
Oh no.
Where are the ducks on that scale? You know what I mean?
Mm, I don't know, but now you're convincing me maybe looking into crows because we got a couple of crows that live in the area that
If you leave them little treats and stuff,
mhm.
they'll bring you something in return.
Oh no, now I've got to start Googling what do crows eat.
I think they like peanuts, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me. I'm not a bird expert.
No, but I'm trying to force you into being one
Listen,
because I have a lot of bird related questions.
what do crows eat? Unsalted peanuts in the shell. I was right.
Wow.
Hard-boiled eggs, dry pet kibble, raw or cooked meat scraps.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll think about some of that.
Also mealworms. Um,
So I just need to start sourcing mealworms here.
that's what I'm hearing.
And then I'm
You
like, where do they just make like a nest in a tree? Would they prefer some sort of a shelter? I can make a shelter.
Here's the other concern is that
Mm,
where are you going to put these that a crow can get to it that isn't going to attract a raccoon?
I would also take a raccoon.
What I'm hearing, and I know you've said it before, you're
hmm
really
hmm
connecting with nature.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm just like at that point where I'm like, bring on the animals. You know what I mean?
This says unsalted peanuts are the safest and most popular option, often leading to crows staying in your area.
Interesting.
Now,
Because,
I wonder if it's the same with ducks. Okay, be patient. While they may bring gifts, small twigs, shiny items, rocks in return for food, it can take months or years for them to trust you. Don't feed them where cars are present or where neighbors might object to them, as they can be put in danger.
interesting. So what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
I've got to earn it.
And to be honest, I feel like that's the kind of project you're looking for.
I I can't get the trust immediately. I wouldn't like that. I need to feel like I've earned it.
Yeah.
Cut to 2 years from now, me in a full crow suit, walking, like waving my arms, walking down the street. Oh no.
You're gonna like this.
Mm.
Ducks can recognize individual people, especially those they interact with frequently.
I can't believe this is the statement I'm gonna say. I really want to hear what a crow would call me. I want
Like
to
what
hear
the
my name in a crow voice. I've said what I've said.
So are we just off ducks now?
Oh no, no. I've again I saw the lady duck today in my yard and then I immediately like it could have been any duck, but my brain went, no, that was the lady duck that was here earlier. That was here days ago. She's scoping it out a second time. So I'm like, I get it. And so immediately I'm like, well, her name is Harriet and I love her and I can't wait for her to return. Who's the boy? I need to see him again to
Yeah.
get a good look at him to decide. But I'm kind of slightly leaning towards Daryl.
I
Mhm.
also, you didn't ask, and I don't know why I have an opinion. Lionel. I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. And who knows? These are names that could also be used for my crow friend. Let's just say whichever one approaches me first.
Don't you in your kitchen, don't you have a window that's up kind of high with like
Um, ish. Yeah.
maybe that's where you leave the peanuts.
Interesting.
Somewhere that's not super easy for the raccoon to get to. You know what I mean? If you leave them on that windowsill, that's for a crow, and the crow's gonna know it's for the crow.
Interesting. Well, now you'll love this. what can I get that can like hang off the windowsill so the crow can have their like a little bucket of snacks. And then I
Hold
leave
on.
one down below that says raccoons only. I can't, I mean, I don't know what I would do if a raccoon, and I know raccoons can be pests, I understand that, but it's just if a raccoon wanted to live near my home, like, have you seen the video of the people who heard noise in their garage and they went in, turned the light on, and there was a row of raccoons on the top of the garage door and they all just froze at the light? And I'm like, I want that.
When
I
we were
want to see this thing in my backyard and I want to flick on a light and I want to watch it freeze. I need that in my life, you know?
when we were shooting Superstore, we were on one of the sound stages at Universal Studios, and this one specific soundstage, we just never shot past like 10 p.m. I don't think we ever went that late. And
Sure.
there was one night out of 6 years that we did. We were shooting a very long day for some reason, and we started hearing these noises, and it was the raccoons. And they were literally like, "It's time to leave. What are you doing? Why are you still here?" And they were up in the rafters in the on the soundstage. And they were like, "Let's go, guys. This is our turf. We get this place overnight.
Hmm.
Okay?"
Tapping their little watches. They're like,
Oh,
we
it was
look at the time.
adorable. But it was like that, where it was like you look up and then there's all these little eyes and they're chattering at you because they're like, "You're here later than you're meant to be. And it's time for us to get out of here and do our rounds." Clearly, they sleep there in the day. I was charmed. Um,
You're not talking me out of it.
Listen, I also have told this story, and then I'm like, was that Superstore or was that a different show? It might have been a different show. I think it was Superstore. It doesn't matter. It still is charming either way.
Of
I just don't want this ending up
course.
on the internet and then somebody else is like, that didn't happen, you know?
Of course. It happened at some point.
It happened in my life to me.
There you go.
Yep, I was there, I saw it. Um, Now this is also because I saw somebody made like a TikTok of all these like fun facts about Superstore, and I'm the asshole that I watch it and then I comment with the things that aren't true. There was a couple things that weren't true. So I was like, number two is not true.
First of all, not an asshole. Fact checker.
Thank you.
That's an occupation.
Yep.
Is it? Does anybody like, is that their only job is fact checking? I hope so.
Yeah.
Specifically fact checking sitcoms. That that to me would be a lot. I'd love that.
Yeah. You'd love that almost as much as the crows. Okay, back to the crows for a second. So I Googled best way to present food for crows.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
It says provide a consistent open feeding spot on the ground or a large elevated platform, such as a sturdy tray or large rock. Offer high protein unsalted foods like peanuts in the shell, dry cat food, or boiled eggs, and always include a large dish of fresh water as they love to soak their food.
Oh. Inter no, I apologize to the crows. I did slightly judge. Okay. Okay. This again, this feels doable. Like I can already hear the noises coming from our garage and my husband being like, "What is she doing?" And he comes out and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm building a stand for the crows."
Well, I was just going to say, um, I just got, come on, load, damn you. Um, I was just shown because I just
Mhm.
scrolled down and there are some freestanding, well, there's something called a crow feeder. Let's put it that way.
Oh. Now, is this something I buy or is this something I make?
Well, this is something you can buy, but you could also make it yourself, I'm sure, some version of it.
I've
Oh,
really
Amazon
come a
doesn't,
long way in
y
birds.
you have, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there are some that I am frightened of. Like, you know how sometimes you see videos from zoos where someone is has to put their arm out and then the bird flies from the zoo person to the person in the crowd? I couldn't do that. I can't watch a bird flying at me. Watching a bird fly away, majestic. Watching it fly at me, war.
War.
I'm terrified. I'm immediately terrified. Yeah.
I did go to a like a falconry experience once,
Oh.
and then they do is fly at you.
Oh, I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Couldn't do it.
I got to touch an owl. Um,
Hey.
yep. And yeah, then like a hawk will fly at you.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Not a
and
bird
then
of
on
prey. Couldn't do it.
back to Superstore because again, all this bird talk. Of course, this is just making the people froth at the mouth for me. Um, there was the episode with the crow, which in real life was a craven, and I volunteered not for the show. I just was like, "Can I pose with it?" And they were like, "Put your arm out," and it went under my arm, and I was happy as a clam.
Oh, of course.
Those things are huge.
Yeah. I don't.
Smart, smart. They literally
mm,
would just tell it. They'd be like, hey, you're gonna fly there," and they'd do it. It understood English.
That's fascinating.
They're very smart. They can do simple math. You want the crows on your side. This is a truth. In a neighborhood ecosystem,
Mm,
you want the crows on your side. I think I don't think it can hurt.
no. No, it seems right to, I mean, they aren't consistent to be here, but we do often wake at like 5 in the morning to them having a bit of a chat.
Well, what better way to ensure that you'll never sleep past 5 again than start feeding them?
Yeah, look, is my husband gonna be on board? No, but that's why we call it free will, baby.
Well, listen, again, maybe we go back to the ducks, you
Well,
know?
but here's the problem. I've already been like, if I can convince a duck that it's like, here's a place I've made for you that you can come and go, all of these things, and I'm feeding them. The day they go south, it's gonna break my heart. It's gonna be like I've sent them off to college and I don't know when they'll be back. And then I'll
How
cry
do you
if they
convince a
return.
duck to nest in your yard?
Hmm.
Well, I'm seeing clean large water bowl again. Here's what I'm going to say. I think you should be getting water out there ASAP, okay? Because it's sounding like
Yeah,
that's your key to getting
yeah.
these. That's the milkshake bringing these boys to the yard. You know what I'm saying?
Like, should I look into like bird bath or are we just talking like large bowl?
How have you not, how have we not experienced or explored the idea of a bird bath?
Yeah. Well, at first, I mean, we did talk about it once, I want to say a couple of years ago when I went outside for the afternoon. Um,
That's right.
and it was way too hot and I was sitting in the shade, but that I still got sunburnt and I was like loopy as hell when we recorded.
That's right.
I think, and I made a comment that I wanted to sit outside and paint birds. I think that was the beginning of the tides turning for birds.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing to come this far that I'm now purposely trying to lure them. Look into bird baths. I'm gonna write that down.
Look into bird baths. I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I was visiting beautiful Belleville, Ontario, visiting my parents there. And Mom and I were walking Bean, and there was these two, we don't know, finches, canaries, who knows,
Oh.
bright yellow
Mm.
and a little bit of black.
Hmm.
We don't know what they were. And in that moment, we stopped and watched them, and I was like, look at them. God, they're majestic. And that's when I was like, I feel my age. I feel my age. And I know we've talked about this before, where it's like you get to an
Hmm.
age where suddenly you start caring about birds.
Birds.
And it's a
Yeah.
thing. It's a
Because
thing. Wild birds.
isn't that the current thing going around the internet is in every white person's home there's a bird, whether it's a picture or like
Yes.
a figure or a statue or something.
And I think they're accurate.
Oh, that's absolutely accurate.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is, well, two things. One, I think it's lunacy that you don't have a bird bath already, just
I
given
know.
your new interest, your curiosity. Who knows who you're
Yeah.
going to invite back there? What if you saw a damn blue jay or a cardinal in the flesh?
Oh, I'd lose it.
Yeah.
That
Yep,
was the most earnest.
I know.
Here's the thing. My concern is where am I putting the bird bath? Because I need to make sure it's in a place where it's not interrupting. Because I have a child who's very athletic, who is out there a lot, kicking a ball around, mucking things up. And so I don't want him to disturb the
And you
birds.
don't want it in the front where the riffraff from the neighborhood could come and piss in it.
I'm not even sure who the riffraff are at this point. Are we back to the raccoons? I don't know.
No, I meant like the kids that were like ringing your doorbell, ding dong ditching.
Oh,
Or
well,
I'm thinking about my own neighbor. Like I was like, did he put his dick in this face cream? You know what I mean?
that's we're hitting so many classic episode
This feels
banters.
like it's a clip show. It feels like this is like a 1980s sitcom. One of the ones where it was like, well, that reminds me of, and then it's like, ba-na-na-na, and then they show the
Yeah.
clip.
Oh, that's how our brains work all the time.
Yeah.
Our brains are a constant clip show. That
Yeah.
makes sense to me. Oh, okay. Bird baths. And yes, I would worry too much about it in the front. Although, here's the thing, the front yard, I could see it better just sitting
I
in the home, but then I'm like, do I create? Oh no. Am I gonna create a whole like majestic, beautiful bird-like area? Like a place where birds are gonna want to come? Am I creating a bird paradise? Am I gonna
have
take a
you
section of my backyard and create this bird paradise?
I think the answer is yes. And I think
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question, which is I don't know what that entails or how long it's going to be. Maybe a bird feeder in the meantime.
Fuck. Bird bath,
That feels
bird
bird bath
feeder.
and bird feeder especially feels very short-term doable. That's one order. You know what I
It's
mean? That
true.
shows up at your door.
Well, what you'll love is I wrote down bird bath and then I wrote down bird feeder and underneath I wrote bird paradise. So I'm going to put a plus and an equals in there because I really think bird bath and bird feeder will make a bird paradise. Yeah, look, did I slightly consider, I've got to stop this idea about digging. I was like,
Mm.
I've got an area where like nothing grows there but weeds and it's kind of a pain in the ass. Am I am I digging a small pond? Like small. Like I'm not like a few feet. Like I'm not saying like a human's gonna get in there. But
Well,
like
where's that going?
I mean there is a spot, but we had mentally picked it out as the spot where we were going to put a shed. And then we realized sheds are expensive, so we just never got there.
Mm.
But if
This
I,
is saying
you know,
consider using a mini excavator. Now I know that you used a jackhammer, so maybe this is your time to rent a mini excavator.
I mean, I just think I'm really excited for my husband to hear this episode.
You need a liner.
He's going to get concerned
100%.
when he hears it. Um, oh yeah, I know there's gonna have to be some sort of a liner. Here's the thing, like I know like my in-laws like in the backyard, they'd like built up this whole area of flower bed, and in one large section they put a pond that had like a little waterfall. They had big fish in it at one point, but my mother-in-law hated it because it was like a lot of work, attracted mosquitoes, like a lot of, you know, cleaning it out every fall, all of those things. She hated that part. And so I'm like, I would probably hate that part too. So I'm like,
Well,
before I
then
dig a hole,
can't you just throw a kiddie pool out there then? You know what I mean? Let that sit out there for the animals. You know what I mean?
and just ever so quickly, Bert and Larry.
Bert and Larry are back, baby.
If you think Bert doesn't appreciate birds,
Absolutely.
Although he's intimidated by crows because they're smarter than he is.
Yeah, but you have to remember their last name is Bird, so obviously there's got to be a connection here.
That makes sense. That makes so much sense. Oh, the idea of him just sitting with a mug of soup. Because, yeah, he doesn't need the utensils. Why waste and dirty extra dishes if you don't have to? Just sitting with a mug of soup, watching a bird feeder?
Yeah. And listen, psychologist hat, is it Bert or is it Christy?
Oh, I think long ago we learned it's a gray area of
Yeah.
where I end and he begins.
Oh God.
Although I'll
Yeah.
say it, I don't think I love soup as much as he does.
No one does. No one does.
That's true. But I think we share a love of birds. And there's got to be other stuff that I'm sure we share, but he's more soup. We're equal on birds. And then I'm probably less on trauma, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think that's probably
Just
safe to
like
say.
basic childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, listen, this is reminding me, and I know I've brought this up before, but this is
Mhm.
reminding me about when in the pandemic I got really fixated on creating this like frog habitat in the backyard to try and attract frogs. Now, I
Mhm.
don't know if in the hot desert valley in Los Angeles, if I'm going to
Mhm.
be attracting any frogs. Lizards, different story. I mean, the gecko is basically always at my home. And
Beautiful.
that's a thrill. I love seeing lizards. But I'm curious, are there just frogs running around? I don't think so.
Well, here's the thing. If you build it, they will hop.
They will croak.
I
Ribbit.
lost it. Again, my mentality this morning, I was one way, it felt like a normal day, and then I saw that duck and my brain imploded and I
Hmm.
didn't know what to do with myself and my basic sense has just gone out the window. And my brain has been ducks all day. And I'm like, what do I do? How do I build like a shelter that shows them I'm interested? And I'm just like, I want to put out a bowl of peas and like leave it in an area near where I saw her this morning in the hopes that she circles back and she's like, oh, this place has food. And then I'm like, you're damn right, Harriet. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I just, I want them here so bad. I won't touch them. I won't go near them. I will only place the food and leave. I desperately want to pet them, but I won't ask. I'll leave it. I just, I want them to bring their little family here. I
Yeah.
want
I think that there's going to be a key to a water source. I think you're
to,
going to have to suck it up and dig a fucking pond if you really want to make this happen.
you're right.
They need somewhere to teach those babies to swim. They're not going to be teaching them to swim in your backyard if you don't have a pond. And
That
I
is
don't
true.
trust it on the front lawn.
No,
I
neither
don't
do I.
trust it. You
Neither do
think that
I.
those ne'er-do-wells who are ringing doorbells and running aren't going to try and
Mhm.
be too loud or scare a duck?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna need them. They're they're gonna need to hop the fence. I'm gonna need them in an enclosed space where I can keep an eye on them. And look, is it getting too cold out? And you think maybe it's time to fly south? It's okay. The back door's open. Come on in. Sorry, kids, you can't use the basement bathroom. That's where the ducks live now. Just that's I'm gonna always make sure that I'm filling and cleaning and refilling that tub just so they have a water source. for over winter.
Didn't Joey Tribbiani have the duck?
Well, I mean,
Or was it Chandler?
did one have the duck and one had the chick? I thought they just both had both.
Well, oh, which character on Friends had the duck? Oh, it says it was owned by Chandler and Joey.
I mean, it's just another reason
Joey
to
bought the
love them.
duck. Sorry, Joey bought the chick. And it doesn't say where the duck came from.
And I
Oh,
watched that show, but I cannot for the life of me remember. I remember they get them getting them, but I can't remember where they came from.
mm, well, they were there for 3 seasons. I guess the only
Huh.
thing about that is like, we really have to suspend our disbelief if they're living in Manhattan.
Yeah.
The monkey,
Well,
too, though, you know?
oh, Marcel. Yeah, there was a lot of. Oh, I mean, did you see a recent interview with Lisa Kudrow where she was asked, like, were Ross and Rachel on a break? And she's like, Ross was the worst boyfriend. I was like,
I
good
did.
for her. Good for her.
It's time.
Ross was a nightmare.
Ross was I was going to say a troublemaker, and that's, am I 90? I
Again,
also use, I want to thank you for not calling you out for my n not even pausing when I said ne'er-do-wells. Like, where are
I let
we?
it,
What happened?
yeah. You know, I think we're doing the best we can. I also think that maybe we're just aging so much faster
Yeah,
mentally. Um, and I think I'm trying to combat that with with a wild pet. Because the
yeah,
problem also is I follow so many accounts of people who like own ducks, and it's because they live in like a huge plot of land that they can have a whole place for the ducks. And I'm just like, so what you're saying is when I dig the pond, make sure that I can have enough space to have a heated home so they want to stick around.
I have 2 words for you.
Yeah.
Chicken coop.
I, I'm not opposed, but I am also I'm unsure about chickens.
I'm not saying you have to have chickens. I'm saying
Hmm.
a chicken coop style coop for the ducks.
Interesting. And make it their own like Barbie dream house.
Yes.
Like, am I just looking for a project?
Yeah.
I think that's what this is, deep
No,
down.
I don't know. I don't know if this is you looking for a project. I do think it's interesting that you're like, I would feel like hell when they fly south for the winter, but
Oh,
that's not really stopping you, which makes me feel like you're processing, you know, you're processing that children grow up and that that's coming
oh,
for you. And,
I'm trying to get new children who are forced to stay with me and bring me nice prizes like the crows.
huh?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Again, it's this whole I don't think it would have been this huge for me in this moment if that duck hadn't have shown up on my street and then all of a sudden just 4 days later the duck is back. What?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say I didn't see the boy duck again. I'm just convinced I've now seen the lady duck twice. But I'm like, did she touch down, look around and go, it's not bad? Because the second that I returned home and I thought the duck was gone, I was devastated. I was so disappointed. And then I turned the corner and there she was, and it was like Christmas morning. I was so jazzed to see her. And then I tiptoed. I'm sure, I'm sure there's, ring like doorbell camera footage of it. I tiptoed to as close as I could to her, and I hid behind a light pole, which you can see me around a light pole, but I hid behind a light pole and then zoomed in my camera to take pictures of her because I didn't want to get too close to upset her. I didn't want her to be like, can't live here, nosy neighbors.
Right.
But I also wanted to be like, welcoming committee, here are some peas, you know?
Yeah, Christy did leave me a voice note through some of this today where what was great was that she was like, I can't pull the car up too close because I don't want to scare her. And then
Mhm.
there was a period of time in the voice note that was just easy, easy, not too quick, not too fast,
Yeah,
steady, steady. It was a lot of
I,
that.
yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't want to, like, I worried if I came around the corner too fast that it might frighten her and make her be like, this is not safe for my children. Um, and yeah, this is what it's like, people, to be my best friend. This is the kind of voice notes you get where it's chaos.
Oh, it's an honor.
And it's just like hit record, leave it,
Yep.
press stop.
Yep.
Not unlike what I do at the beginning of this show.
Yeah.
This is like one big voice note to all our friends.
It really is.
Just chaos.
That's what they came for.
Yep.
On that note, what you drinking over there?
Oh, well, we dicked around enough that my Slurpee's pretty much done, so I'm just going to be on a water for now.
Yeah, me too. I finished my Gatorade, Arctic Cherry. Duh.
Of course.
Now I'm just onto the water. But listen, let's get into the case. We're discussing, of course, Katherine Knight on this episode of True Crime and Cocktails. I am unfamiliar with this case, so let's get everybody, including myself, up to speed right now. On March 1st, 2000, police in New South Wales, Australia, discovered that a man named John Price had been murdered in his own home. The crime scene was described as horrific, and to this day, John's murder is considered one of the most gruesome crimes in Australia's history. John's girlfriend, Katherine Knight, was arrested for the crime, and while it is clear that she was the culprit, Katherine claims to have no memory of what happened. Is Katherine lying to cover for the horrific crime? Why did she attack John in the first place? And what has happened to her since? Christy Oxborrow investigates.
Want you to know that I typically pick cases far enough in advance. I'll pick a random time looking for just looking for something that might be of interest. And there was something about this one that I went, well, we're going for it. I didn't look very far before choosing it. It was a bit of a surprise.
I
I'll
can't
say
wait.
that. I'll say that. But to begin with, today's case takes place in the state of New South Wales, which is on the southeastern coast of Australia. It is both the oldest state in the country, as it was founded in 1788, and it is the most populous state, as it is home to nearly 1/3 of all Australians.
Hmm.
The capital of New South Wales is Sydney, which hosted the Summer Olympics in 2000. The mascots for those Olympics were a duck-billed platypus named Sid, a kookaburra named Ollie, and an echidna named Millie. According to their creator, the names were meant to reference Sydney Olympics and the new millennium. Sydney
Okay.
and Olympics? Okay. New millennium? Stretching. Stretching. Uh, Mount Caputar National Park in New South Wales features Mount Caputar, a volcano which was active at some point roughly 17 to 21 million years ago. Fun fact, this volcano is the only place in the world where you can find giant hot pink slugs. The slugs have a more scientific name, but we all know that I wouldn't be able to pronounce it. The slugs grow to nearly 8 inches in length.
What?
I will post a photo in the case file over on our socials at True Crime and Cocktails on Instagram and Facebook because who doesn't want to see hot pink slugs?
I'm Googling it now.
It's fascinating. They don't look real, but apparently they are. The world's longest fence cuts through 3 states, including the northwest corner of New South Wales. It's called the Dingo Fence, and it stretches over 5,600 kilometers. Its purpose is to keep wild dingoes away from sheep farms.
Hmm.
Makes sense? New South Wales is home to the world's oldest cave system. The Jenolan Caves are hidden in the Blue Mountains and are estimated to be about 340 million years old.
Wow.
The second oldest are the Sudwala Caves in South Africa. They're estimated to be about 240 million years old. Lightning Ridge, New South Wales was established in 1922 and as of 2021 has a population of just under 2,000. And while that may not seem impressive, Lightning Ridge is the primary source for black opals worldwide. The
Huh.
first black opal was found in the area nearly 50 years before Lightning Ridge was even founded. And while some can be found in Ethiopia, most of the black opals on the market today come from Lightning Ridge. Fun fact about black opals, the first one to ever be given a name was called the Burning of Troy, and it was gifted to Josephine from her husband Napoleon around 1805. After,
Wow.
after Josephine's death in 1814, the gem went missing for nearly 100 years before it was discovered in Vienna right before World War I. The stone then went missing 20 years later, and to this day, its whereabouts are unknown. Does
Oh.
anyone else get rock hard about stuff like this, or is just me? No pun intended.
I love it.
This just sounds like something a movie would do,
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the hunt for the burning of Troy. Come on. Ah, so New South Wales is also home to such iconic landmarks as Bondi Beach, the Sydney Opera House, the Sydney Cricket Ground, the Blue Mountains, and Sydney Harbour Bridge, which is also known as the Coat Hanger. And speaking of fun things to see in the state, there are a lot of large statues, aka big things, in New South Wales. The first big thing built in Australia was Plotty the dinosaur, who was built in 1963 and measures roughly 85 feet long. She currently resides in Somersby.
Hmm.
And speaking of big things in New South Wales, there is a 50-foot tall merino ram in Goulburn, a 69-foot long bull in Washope, a 42-foot long banana in Coffs Harbour, a 46-foot tall koala in Gundagai, and a 45-foot long tennis racket in Barellin. There we go. And if you're into big statues of beer cans, you're in luck because there's a 16.4-foot tall can in Cobar, a 32-foot tall can in Merrickville, and a 36-foot tall can in Newcastle.
So many cans.
So many cans. They were cans.
They were cans. They were
Um,
just cans.
from 2001 to 2023, the North Byron Parklands in Wooyoung were home to an almost annual music and arts festival called Splendor in the Grass. Over the years, the festival has featured such musical acts as Mumford and Sons, The Killers, Churches, Tyler the Creator, Charlie XCX, Gorillaz, The Strokes, Vampire Weekend, Lorde, and Kendrick Lamar. In 2015, the festival featured musical guests Blur, Florence and the Machine, and Mark Ronson, as well as an art installation by Hungry Castle. The installation was called Nicolas Cage in a cage, and it included a large black and white striped bouncy castle with a massive 3D portrait of Nick Cage's head. There is a photo of it in the case file. I should have somehow added a jump scare because it's something.
I just can't believe how organically that came out.
Yeah, I
Amazing.
I'm gonna say it. I'm getting good at it.
Yeah.
It's I know some people have mentioned that they look forward to it, and I really appreciate that. I just sometimes like it's moments when I'm researching that I get to a point where I'm like, oh, this is gruesome. And then I'm just like, let's find out where Nick Cage fits in. So then I'm like, give myself a brain break. And that's also
Hmm.
where the fun facts come in. It it gets me jazzed. And you never think there's some way to connect him here, but there always is.
There always is.
There always is. I already have other ones planned for other parts of Australia. I had to narrow it down to which one I was going to use. I'm Googling him all the time, is the point.
I love it.
Oh. Musical acts from New South Wales include AC/DC, In Excess, Silverchair, Iggy Azalea, Natalie Imbruglia, and The Wiggles.
Huh.
Movies filmed in New South Wales include, but are not limited to, most of the Mad Max series, including Fury Road and Furiosa, Kangaroo Jack, Aquamarine, Peter Rabbit, Babe, The Great Gatsby, Moulin Rouge, Superman Returns, and The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Things invented in New South Wales include electronic pacemakers, Google Maps, polymer banknotes, electric drills, ultrasound scanners, and inflatable aircraft escape slides. Famous people born in New South Wales include Jordan Mailata, who is an attractive offensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. Go Birds. You just have to. Um, as well as Rose Byrne, Paul Hogan, Hugh Jackman, Elle Macpherson, Adam Garcia, Tony Collette, Yvonne Strahovski, Jay Courtney, and Julian McMahon. May he rest.
Hmm.
Honorary mentions go to Nicole Kidman, who was born in Hawaii and then moved to Sydney at the age of 3, and Russell Crowe, who was born in New Zealand and moved to Sydney at the age of 4. Russell Crowe is probably most known for starring in Gladiator, Cinderella Man, and most of my daydreams from 1999 to 2003.
I can attest that's true.
Did I go through his IMDb to look at all the movies he was in to figure out what that time frame was for me? I did. So now that we've had the light appetizer, it's time for the hearty entree. Which means a disclaimer, and it's a heavier disclaimer than usual. This episode will contain mentions of rape, intimate partner violence, suicide, child sexual abuse, violence towards animals, and descriptions of graphic violence. So, trigger warning for those who need it. I will also give a warning, a couple of warnings, I think, throughout when we get to some of the worst stuff.
All right.
So, as part of my research for this episode, I watched episode 5 from the first season of the 2014 show Crimes That Shook Australia. So Jack Rowan and Barbara Thorley got married in 1943 when Jack was 26 and Barbara was 13. In a word, yikes. The couple lived in the small town of Aberdeen, New South Wales, which is about 270 kilometers north of Sydney. Between 1943 and 1951, Jack and Barbara had 4 sons together, and shortly after their last son was born, Barbara started an affair with Ken Knight, Jack's friend and co-worker. At the time, doesn't matter, but at the time of the affair, Jack was 34, Barbara was 21, and Ken was 24. Barbara and Ken had a son in June 1952, so at that point, their affair was very much public information, and it caused such a big scandal that Barbara and Ken had to leave town. Her 2 oldest sons stayed with Barbara's husband, Jack, and the younger 2 sons went to live with an aunt. So Barbara and Ken moved to the town of Marie, which is about 370 kilometers north of Aberdeen. On October 24th, 1955, Barbara and Ken had twin daughters, Joy Knight and Katherine Mary Knight. Now, typically, in a case if someone is particularly vile, I choose to call them by their surname. But in this case, I don't want there to be any confusion between the surname Knight and the time of day Knight. So I'm going to just keep calling her Katherine for the sake of clarity. So at some point, either before or after the twins were born, Barbara and Ken had a second son together. Then in 1957, Barbara's ex-husband Jack died unexpectedly at the age of 40. So Barbara gathered her oldest four children and brought them to live with her and Ken. According to later interviews with multiple psychiatrists, Katherine claimed that at least one or two of her brothers sexually abused her until she was 11. However, Katherine couldn't give any specific details of the abuse, so one of the psychiatrists stated they didn't believe the abuse really happened. Is that possible? Sure. It's also possible the abuse left Katherine so traumatized that she blocked it from her memory. But who knows? But even if that abuse wasn't true, the household was incredibly toxic, especially for the children. It was said that Ken was a heavy drinker and incredibly violent, so he often got physically and sexually abusive towards Barbara, who would in turn tell the children graphic details about the abuse.
Oh, God.
As an adult, when Katherine was speaking with a psychiatrist, she implied she may have been sexually abused by her father, but she would never give a definitive answer either way. Katherine did not do well in school. She never fully learned to read or write. She was described as a bully who physically assaulted a male classmate as well as a teacher. One teacher referred to Katherine as, quote, a mild-mannered and pleasant girl who experiences uncontrollable murderous rages in response to minor upsets.
Oh, boy.
Katherine dropped out of school at the age of 15 and went to work at a clothing factory. A year later, in 1971, Katherine got her dream job, working at an abattoir, which is a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
What kind of 16-year-old girl dreams of working at a slaughterhouse? I think we'll figure that answer out closer to the end of this episode. But just to give you an idea, Katherine loved it so much and she excelled so well that she kept getting promoted. Um, and when she got promoted to the job of deboning, the owner gave her a set of butcher knives, which Katherine proudly hung above her bed every night. She said she wanted them close by in case she ever needed them. In 1973, when Katherine was 18, she started dating a 22-year-old coworker named David Kellett. Unfortunately, Kellett struggled with alcohol abuse, likely stemming from severe trauma that he suffered in his youth, which included watching his best friend die in a train accident and then witnessing a bus accident that caused the death of 6 children. Kellett's alcohol abuse was so bad that on the day he and Katherine got married in 1974, Kellett was so drunk he could barely stand. Not surprisingly, he wasn't able to consummate the marriage as many times as Katherine would have liked. According to Kellett, at some point he passed out and woke up to Katherine strangling him. She said she was disappointed because her mother, Barbara, had told her that on her own wedding night, she and Katherine's father had sex 6 times, so Katherine was upset that Kellett could only perform twice. Here's my question about that, though. Did Barbara mean Katherine's biological father? Because they were never married, so there wouldn't have been a wedding night. Or did
Mm.
Barbara mean her actual wedding night with her first husband? You know, when she was 13. Either
Oh,
way, weird choice for Barbara to essentially brag to her daughter about how much sex she had had. Um,
yes.
Not to mention 6 times on your wedding night? My God, on my wedding night, the second we got to the room, I asked my new husband to help me take off the dress simply so I could get immediately into a jacuzzi tub because I was exhausted and overwhelmed by the day. And I know what you're all thinking, and you're right. He is a lucky man. Ah, in 1976, Catherine gave birth to their daughter, Melissa, and just weeks later, Kellett left her for another man or another woman and moved to Queensland. Catherine mentally snapped, and after being found violently shaking her daughter's stroller or pram, Catherine was hospitalized and diagnosed with postnatal depression. After her release, Catherine went to the train station where she put her 2-month old baby in her stroller and left the stroller on the train tracks and walked away. Thankfully, someone moved the stroller off the tracks shortly before a train arrived. Catherine left the train station and walked around town threatening people with an axe before police caught up with her and forced Catherine to be hospitalized a second time. However, Catherine discharged herself the following day and abducted a woman at knife point, forcing the woman to drive Catherine to Queensland, where she planned to confront Kellett. When the woman stopped for gas, she managed to escape, and Catherine grabbed a nearby child and threatened to kill him.
Jesus.
Police arrived and were able to de escalate the situation. The child was unharmed, and Catherine was taken into custody. Catherine told police she planned to kill the mechanic at the gas station because the mechanic had previously fixed Kellett's car, which allowed Kellett to leave her. She said she was going to kill the mechanic, then kill Kellett and Kellett's mother. I don't know what role Kellett's mother played in all of this to get on Catherine's hit list, but shockingly, when Kellett heard the news, he willingly left his new girlfriend and returned to Aberdeen to be with Catherine, who spent a few months in a psychiatric hospital.
Sorry, I just didn't see that coming.
Yeah, yeah, he was like, wow, she really wants me back. All right. Wild.
And where's the baby in all of this?
I
Did they
don't
get the
know.
baby back after she left it on the train? I mean,
From my understanding, like the baby was never taken from her.
wowzer.
Yeah. After she was released, the violence continued, including an incident where Catherine hit Kellett in the head with an iron, and the time when Kellett arrived home late after a night out with friends, and Catherine responded by hitting him in the head with a frying pan. According to x-rays, it fractured his skull.
I'm sure it did.
So police suggested that maybe Kellett press charges. He refused. In 1980, Catherine gave birth to their second daughter, Natasha,
Oh,
and for
great.
the next few years, things seemed relatively normal, with exception to the time when Kellett up and left his wife and daughters in the middle of the night, likely to be with another woman. He did, however, soon come back, and surprisingly, in 1984, Catherine was the one to leave him. When their marriage ended, Catherine told people that Kellett had been physically abusive towards her and that he cheated on her so many times she had a nervous breakdown. Kellett said, quote, I never raised a finger against her, not even in self-defense. I would just walk away. Kellett described Catherine as unpredictably violent, like the time he woke up to find Catherine sitting on his chest, holding a butcher knife to his throat, saying, quote, you see how easy it is? I mean, that's chilling. Um, in 1986, when Catherine was 31, she started seeing 38-year-old David Saunders. A few months into their relationship, Saunders moved in with Catherine and her daughters, who were roughly 10 and 4 at the time. Unfortunately, the relationship between Catherine and Saunders was volatile at best. Just like with her first husband, Catherine hit Saunders in the head with a frying pan. And once during an argument, and I'm sorry, this is going to be difficult to hear. We're just going to say it and move on. Um, because she got angry at him, Catherine walked outside and slit the throat of Saunders' 8-week-old puppy. She told him if he ever cheated on her, she would do the same to him.
Good God.
Somehow, Catherine and Saunders remained together until, and in 1988, they had a daughter named Sarah. Unfortunately, the violence continued, including a time when Catherine hit Saunders in the face with an iron, and another time when she stabbed him in the stomach with a pair of scissors. The fact that this is the second episode in a row that involves a stabbing with scissors is wild to me. I'm really hoping this will not be a continuous theme throughout.
Yeah, that's wild. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, in all the episodes, it's like we've done hundreds, and yeah, I don't remember a lot of stabbings with scissors, and now two
Nope.
two cases in a row. It's wild.
Yeah, this will not be something I hope to continue.
This is
Not
not the new Nicolas
this
Cage.
is not. No. Um, After the stabbing incident, Saunders decided he'd had enough. So he left Catherine and went into hiding. Catherine went to the police and got a restraining order against Saunders, claiming he had been violent towards her, not the other way around. Catherine's daughters did later claim that there were times when Saunders was the violent one. They didn't say our mother never was. They just said he had his moments. Catherine then damaged Saunders' car and took an overdose of sleeping pills before being admitted to a psychiatric facility. Saunders later said that Catherine constantly accused him of cheating, which he denies. He said at one point she got so angry that she cut all of his clothing into tiny pieces and left him with only the clothes on his back. Kellett, her first husband, said she accused him of cheating, which, he was. And her response was to burn all of the clothing that he owned. So feels like a bit of a pattern there.
Mm.
Saunders left Catherine around 1989, and in 1990, Catherine started a relationship with 43-year-old John Chillingworth. The following year, they had a son named Eric. Chillingworth admitted to struggling with alcohol abuse, but said he got sober the year his son was born. For the most part, Chillingworth said his relationship with Catherine was good, despite a few incidents which he described as spiteful and vindictive. There was a time when, in an argument, Catherine pulled the glasses off Chillingworth's face and just snapped them in half, and then a time when she smashed his false teeth.
Oh God.
Their relationship officially came to an end in December 1993 when Chillingworth learned that Catherine was having an affair with a man named John Price. Do I think it's wild that Catherine spent years paranoid that her partners were cheating on her, only for her to turn around and cheat on one of them? Yes, although maybe she was just paranoid that they were doing to her what she was already doing to them. Who knows? Do I also find it wild that she was with two men named David, followed by two men named John? Absolutely. I know they're common first names. It just feels wild. And also, it's the reason I've been referring to these men by their last names, because I didn't want to get them all confused. But since John Price is the main victim in this case, I'm going to refer to him as John. So John Charles Thomas Price was born April 4th, 1955. He got married in the spring of 1973 and remained with his wife until early 1988. His wife later said that there weren't really any problems between them. It's just they grew to a point where they just weren't compatible anymore. Now, from the best I can tell, the couple had 2 children together. I've seen multiple references to John having a third child, but for the most part, this is just involves the 2 kids. So I don't know if there was a third at some point, but from the best I can tell, I think there was just 2. John and Catherine officially started dating in 1994, and the following year, John let Catherine and her 4 children move in with him. And things seemed to be going well. But when Katherine suggested marriage and John said no, Katherine turned violent. John worked at the same mine for 17 years without incident. At some point, John found a first aid kit that'd been thrown out at work. He thought it was in good condition and it was a waste to throw it out, so he took it home. Well, after an argument, Katherine took a video showing that the first aid kit was in their house, and she took that video to John's boss, who then fired John for theft. John was rightfully angry, and he kicked Katherine out. A few months after the breakup, John and Katherine got back together, but this time John refused to let Katherine move back in, so her violence escalated. John made sure to document every incident by telling friends about it because he wanted there to be some sort of record of everything that had happened. In late February 2000, Katherine stabbed John in the chest during an argument. The wound left a pretty significant scar. The next day, he went to take out a restraining order on her and learned that Katherine had taken one out on him, claiming John was the violent one towards her. And while John's friends pleaded with him to officially end things with Katherine, he continued to see her. To be clear, I am not judging him in any way for that choice. Later that month, friends said John appeared rattled, and he admitted he was worried that his life was in danger. On Monday, February 28th, John outright told coworkers that if one day he doesn't show up, it's likely because Katherine had killed him. That night, John woke up at 2 a.m. to find Katherine standing in his bedroom with her hands behind her back. John believed she was holding a knife, and he was terrified he was going to die. Turns out Katherine didn't have a weapon at all. I think she was really just messing with him, and John threw her out, and she did not appreciate that. The next day, on February 29th, John went to the police and got a restraining order, and legal notices were given to both John and Katherine, telling them to limit their contact with each other. On March 1st, John's boss noticed that John hadn't shown up for work, which was unusual because he was very reliable. When someone went to his house, they found John's truck parked in the driveway, but no one answered the door, so police were called. When the first officers got to the scene, they immediately noticed blood on the screen door, so they peeked through the mail slot on the door, but all they could see was something that looked like a bunched up curtain hanging down. The police went around the back of the house. They broke in through the back door where they saw the curtain again. When one officer brushed past it, he noticed his arm was suddenly covered in blood. Now, I warned you earlier. I'm gonna warn you again. The details of this crime are incredibly graphic. Honestly, I think this might be the most graphic episode we have ever done.
Wow.
So trigger warning, because some of this gets pretty disturbing. Once the police officer noticed the blood on his arm, he realized that the curtain wasn't a curtain at all, but rather human skin hanging from a meat hook.
Oh, God.
On the floor nearby was a human body with the skin and head removed.
Jesus.
According to court documents, the body had been staged so the left arm was draped over an empty soda bottle and the legs were crossed. There was blood spatter all over the walls, bloody fingerprints on the light switch, trails of blood drops on the floor, and pools of blood that measured nearly 4 feet across. The officers followed the blood drops to the kitchen where a meal had been prepared and was left on the table while a pot was still boiling on the stove. The plates on the table contained vegetables, meat, and gravy. Each had a place card with the name of John's children on them. Inside the pot were some vegetables and a human head. Police then checked the rest of the house when they heard snoring coming from a bedroom. Inside, they found Katherine completely passed out. Next to her was an empty bottle of pills and a blood-stained note which accused John of sexually abusing Katherine's daughters. From the best I can tell, those claims are untrue. Police were unable to wake her, so they carried Katherine to the backyard and called an ambulance. She was taken to a hospital where it was determined that Katherine had swallowed several sleeping pills. A psychiatrist stated that based on the number of pills available to Katherine at the time and the low number she consumed, he didn't believe that this was a genuine suicide attempt. So it seems like she didn't take enough to end her life, she just took enough to knock herself out. But police had to wait 5 days before doctors declared Katherine mentally fit enough to be questioned. She claimed to have no memory of the incident at all. Police told Katherine they believed that she murdered John, and she said if she had, it was only in response to him being violent with her first. Katherine Knight was immediately arrested for murder. John Price was described as hardworking, well-liked, dependable, and kind. He was just 45 at the time of his death. So on the night of February 29th, Katherine took her 4 children out for dinner. Katherine said she wanted the night to be special, but didn't clarify any further to them about why. At the time of the dinner, her children were about 23, 19, 11, and 8. After dinner, they went to Katherine's daughter Natasha's house, where Katherine pulled out a video camera and just started filming them being together. This was incredibly unusual behavior because the video camera had been at Katherine's sister's house for months and she hadn't used it, and she suddenly wanted it for this dinner for some reason. On the video, Katherine says, quote, "I love all my children and I hope to see them again." Which sounds to me like Katherine had something big planned that, might result in her never seeing her children again. Katherine then left her youngest 2 children to spend the night with Natasha, even though she didn't send any clothing or school items with them, despite the fact that there was school the next day. I also can't imagine being like, hey, 19-year-old, here's 2 kids. Take them overnight. Enjoy. Katherine then went home and watched the tape she had just filmed. And then, despite having a court order to limit their contact, Katherine went to John's house around 11 p.m. He was sleeping, so she woke him up. They watched some Star Trek together and then had sex. John went back to sleep, and then Katherine grabbed a knife and stabbed him. Based on the blood evidence, police believe that Katherine stabbed John while he was in bed, and he got up and tried to run, hitting the light switch along the way. Katherine continued to stab John as he made his way down the hall, where the swipes of blood got larger. Since his blood was found on the screen door, it is believed John made it as far as the front door before succumbing to his injuries. According to an autopsy, John had been stabbed 37 times, many of which were deep enough to hit vital organs. Katherine then used her abattoir skills to expertly remove the skin from John's body so that it was in one fully intact piece. The only part of the skin that remained on the body was the scar on his left chest from the stab wound that Katherine had caused earlier that month. The skin, I don't want to read this. The skin that was removed was so intact, they were able to re-sew it onto the body. So, after removing the skin, Katherine showered and drove to Musselbrook, which is about 11 kilometers south of Aberdeen, and she used multiple bank machines to withdraw $1,000 from John's account around midnight. As of this record, that money has never been found.
Hmm.
Who knows where she put it? My guess, she buried it somewhere with the plan of going back for it. Katherine then parked her car in her own backyard and then walked to John's place, which apparently was fairly close by, and she decapitated the body and carried the head to the kitchen, which caused a trail of blood drops. She placed the head in a pot on the stove. Oh, and then she sliced pieces off of John's buttocks into approximately five, what I guess people are calling steaks, and she baked them in the oven. She put two of them on each of the kids' plates and gave a fifth one to the dog. There were reports that Katherine may have tried one of the steaks because there were remnants of another plate that had been thrown in the garbage. But just to clarify, in case we're not all on the same page, she literally sliced off the man's flesh and baked it with the plan of feeding it to the man's children. It's a level of darkness that we don't typically see on this show. Um, and thankfully, the police got there before the children, so the children didn't have to see it or eat it. So that's something. Also, not to mention the fact that she skinned him and hung his skin like some sort of hunting trophy. Catherine's trial started in October 2001. Katherine pleaded not guilty, saying the crime was committed in self-defense. During jury selection, Katherine changed her plea to guilty. The judge was worried that this was a strategic move done so that Katherine could later claim insanity. So he ordered her to undergo a psychiatric evaluation, to which I say, now? You waited till now? We, like, at her arrest, we weren't like she should be looked at. But she was found mentally fit to stand trial, and three separate psychiatrists diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder. Katherine's guilty plea was accepted, and the jury was dismissed. However, the judge chose to continue on with the trial so the evidence could be shown. In a surprising move, Katherine's lawyers requested that Katherine be excused from hearing the more horrific details of the case. Their request was denied.
Good.
Throughout the evidence, Katherine sat quietly, staring straight ahead with absolutely no reaction. But the second a videotape of the crime scene was played, Katherine started rocking back and forth and screaming. And when a doctor took the stand to speak in great detail about the decapitation and the skinning, Katherine became so hysterical, she had to be sedated. Numerous witnesses spoke in court that Katherine told them that she planned to either kill or seriously harm John Price. Before John had kicked Katherine out of his house, in front of witnesses, Katherine told him, quote, "You'll never get me out of this house. I'll do you in first." In front of another witness, Katherine said, quote, "If you leave me, I will cut your balls out." One of Katherine's daughters testified that about 16 months before the murder, Katherine told her that if John ever took her back, it was, quote, "to the death." She then told her daughter, quote, "If I kill Pricey, I'll kill myself after." And just 5 months before the murder, Katherine told one of her brothers, quote, "I'm going to kill Pricey and I'm going to get away with it because I'll make out like I'm mad." And then just 5 weeks before the murder, Katherine told that same brother, quote, "I'm going to kill Pricey and the two kids too." On February 27th, just 2 days before the murder, Katherine showed up at John's house and refused to leave. They got into a physical altercation during which Katherine threatened to kill John, and John left Katherine with some minor bruising. John called the police, but Katherine denied the threats, instead claiming in this situation she was the victim. The police told John that they couldn't physically remove Katherine from his home, and he would need to go to court for that. Katherine then went to a doctor's office to make sure that her injuries were recorded. It was stated in court that throughout all of Catherine's adult relationships, she was prone to violence, vindictiveness, malice, possessiveness, and cruelty. According to court records, lawyers said that Katherine was, quote, anxious to present herself as an innocent victim, whereas she was often a serious aggressor. In the end, the judge stated that since Katherine didn't show John Price any mercy, then he wouldn't show her any either. The judge said the lack of remorse proved that Katherine was a serious threat to society, so she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Katherine Knight is the first woman in Australian history to be given such a sentence. A life sentence is the most severe penalty that a court can impose in Australia since the death penalty was abolished in 1985. It is meant for the most extreme cases like murder, aggravated sexual assault, sexual intercourse with a child under the age of 10, and drug offenses like heroin or cocaine trafficking. In 2006, Katherine filed for an appeal on the grounds that her sentence was too harsh. The woman who skinned and decapitated a person and tried to feed the flesh to the victim's own children, that woman felt that life in prison was too harsh for what she had done. The joke is, she would have filed for an appeal sooner, but her lawyers struggled to come up with a convincing argument as to why Katherine should ever be released.
Yeah, I bet they did.
Again, a life sentence is meant for extreme cases, and I know I don't have any legal expertise, but I think decapitation, skinning, and attempted cannibalism counts as extreme. But the appeal argued that since the mutilation of the body occurred after John's death, it shouldn't be relevant to the seriousness of the offense.
Ugh.
The crime didn't stop just because the victim was no longer alive. It's like saying if I steal a car and then hit a bunch of pedestrians before setting the car on fire, I should only be punished for the act of stealing the car, not for anything that happened after. Katherine also argued she didn't receive any time off her sentence in exchange for pleading guilty. Well, but that's because you didn't take a deal. You just admitted that you did it. Like you didn't take a deal in exchange for anything. You just admitted it. When the appeal was looked over, a judge stated that the crime was the product of a violent personality who was intent upon claiming the life of her boyfriend because their relationship was failing. He said the psychiatric evidence indicates that Katherine's personality was unlikely to change in the future and that if released, she would likely inflict serious harm or even death on others, and suggested that John Price's family would be at risk. Not surprisingly, Katherine's appeal was declined. Katherine remains in prison, where she has been for the past 26 years, and while the media has dubbed her Australia's Hannibal Lecter, other inmates at the prison where Katherine currently resides refer to her as the Nana.
That's
Some
giving Nanas a bad name.
100%. Some inmates describe her as a gentle soul, saying that Katherine is the mediator who helps to sort out problems amongst inmates. One inmate said, quote, she would stop girls stealing from each other and stop girls from fighting, but she never did it by standing over anyone. She never raised her hands to anyone. She was just someone who loved everyone. And honestly, Katherine could be the nicest woman in the world during her time in prison, but after what she did to John Price, I think she deserves to be there. If she stabbed him and the crime ended there, I might not feel as strongly about it, but the horrific acts that she did after proves to me that prison is where she belongs. John's death was not heat of the moment. It wasn't a crime of passion. Catherine meticulously planned it all, from outright telling John she was going to kill him to saying goodbye to her children hours before committing the crime. She also has not shown any sign of remorse since the crime was committed. Catherine currently spends her days making headphones in the prison factory for 5 hours a day. In her spare time, she crochets, makes pottery, and paints. Apparently, she is a very skilled painter to the point where she sells her art to raise money for the prison. But she does not sign her art because she doesn't want someone buying it simply because of her name. Catherine is not allowed to be near knives. She's not allowed to have a cellmate. And from the best I can tell, she has zero contact with the outside world because no friends or family members ever visit. And to that I say, regardless as to how much the prison might claim she has changed, I think based on what she did, she deserves where she's at and what her life is like. But as of 2021, Catherine isn't the only member of the Knight family in prison.
Here
In
we go.
July 2021, Catherine's 74-year-old brother, Neville Knight, was arrested on 15 charges of child abuse against two teenage boys that occurred decades earlier. 4 months after that initial arrest, an additional 85 charges were added relating to sexual abuse committed against boys, including some as young as 7, dating back to the 1960s.
Ugh.
Turns out Neville worked at two different police citizens youth clubs, which are nonprofit clubs that partner with local police to provide low-cost recreation and youth development programs. So they do like boxing and martial arts, basketball, dancing, gymnastics, that sort of thing. Neville was a boxing coach at one club, and he helped to establish another in rural New South Wales. Many of the boys that Neville abused came from dysfunctional homes with parents who struggled with addiction. So he basically preyed upon children who were even more vulnerable than most. He would often abuse them during camping trips, like how they would go camping and he would tell them, we're going to fish, but we're going to fish like they did back in the old days, which means fully naked.
Oh, God.
Neville initially pleaded not guilty, but took a deal in December 2024 and pled guilty to 28 offenses against 11 boys over the span of nearly 40 years. Neville was sentenced to 18 years plus 10 years non-parole, meaning that with time served, Neville will be eligible for parole in 2031. In exchange for pleading guilty, his sentence was reduced by 20%. I'm glad he's in prison, but the fact that they had him on 100 charges and he pleaded guilty to less than a third of them is disgusting. Neville apologized in court, saying that he was sorry for what he did and that he wants redemption and forgiveness because he doesn't want to go to hell when he dies. If only hell was a big enough deterrent to not sexually abuse children in the first place. I know that none of us officially know how this whole thing works, but if there is a hell and someone can literally do anything to anybody and then avoid hell because they say they're sorry, oh, I'm gonna be pissed. I understand the concept of redemption and forgiveness and people changing for the better, but to me, once you abuse a child, that's it. No more chance at heaven for you. One ticket straight to hell. And if that opinion makes me a cunt, then so be it. And I know not everyone is comfortable with that word, but if I'm ever going to use it, it's going to be in an Aussie episode. Reporting for True Crime and Cocktails, I'm Conti Oxborrow. Please do not let that name stick.
feel like I've been taken on a terrible, terrible journey that ended
Yeah.
so, so hilariously. I just, look, we'll get into it in a minute, but I knew you said it was going to be bad, and I thought, how bad can it be?
Mm.
Hold my beer. Let's take a quick break, hit the can, grab a drink, and we'll be back to discuss the truly horrific Katherine Knight case on this
Mhm.
episode of True Crime and Cocktails. One, two, three. Welcome back to this episode of True Crime and Cocktails. We're, of course, discussing the Katherine Knight case. Wowzer! It's been a
Again, I
while. It's been a while since we had an ultra violent one, I feel like, which, listen,
yeah,
I'm going to say it. We're all thinking it. We just also don't expect it from a woman. I mean, it's just statistically so very rare for that level of
yeah,
depravity. Now, again, it's not unheard of, but it is rare. It is rare. So
yeah.
great to change it up.
Yeah, I mean, I love that I already don't know if I told you this on the break or if I literally said it before while we were recording. But when I looked for the episode, I was like, ooh, first woman in Australia to be given a life sentence. I'm like, all I need to know. It's so many times we talk about men committing crimes. I'm like, a woman, let's do this. And it was doing notes that I was like, oof, okay. And then you were like, hey, we can record a few days later. And I said, no, I'd like to be done. I would like to get this show on the road and
Yeah,
move on from this because wowzer, didn't see that coming. Yeah.
none of us did. None of
Yeah.
us did. All right. Well, listen, let's blow through these. You mentioned black opals. I've never heard of a black opal, and I love I guess white
Oh.
opal, or what I always knew to be as an opal. So a black opal feels right up my alley. If you think I'm not going to end up ordering something with a black opal, you're dead wrong.
Well, I think I don't know how like rare they are, but I'll show you. I'll say it, seeing it, my husband is lucky that I didn't know these existed before a ring was involved, or I would have been like maybe, because just for example, like
Oh
that's
yeah, they're pretty.
a black opal. Like they're fun. And to your point, I had no idea. No
No.
idea that was the thing. I was like, opal. Oh yeah, that's like a white. And
Yeah.
I thought nothing of it. And then it kept saying black opal, and I was like, well, show me. And so I Googled it and wow. But don't worry, people. It's going to be in the case file. I usually like to do a separate case file with like pictures, crime, suspect, all of that sort of thing, and then a separate album of the more whimsical photos. But in this case, there's so few photos for the case file, I'm just putting it all in one.
Mm.
But they'll be there. You can also check out the hot pink slugs while you're at it.
Give yourself a little smile before you're horrified by the rest of this. Um, all right. I just wrote
Mhm.
down something you said that made me smile, which was speaking of big things in New South Wales. It just was, I don't know, it was just the way it rolled off your tongue. It was
Mm.
adorable.
I think in
Nicholas,
another life, I am a news anchor.
of course, you think you're kind of one in this life.
Thank you very much.
Nicholas Cage in a cage.
Yeah.
There we go. Just have to point out that so Jack and Barbara were the couple, of course, that got together at 26 and 13.
Hmm.
Kill me dead. Of course, Barbara being Catherine's mother.
Yes.
Um, Barbara left Jack for Ken, and all I could think of was,
Barbie and Ken. The
yeah,
whole time. The whole time. Yep. Yep. That's
yeah.
all I thought about.
It's interesting that, obviously, well, I was going to say it was a different time, but it's not like it was that long ago. This wasn't like the 1800s or some shit. Like, my God, the fact that it was like the older two boys will stay with their father, the younger two go to an aunt, while the woman with the scarlet letter goes to have her baby with her.
Well, but that's the other thing is the
Crazy.
baby. It just feels like she can't even take her younger two with her, and also the husband's not just like leave me all my kids.
Yeah. Well,
A
he
lot
didn't
of
want to take care of the
questions.
younger ones. You know what I mean? Who knows how young they were? Um, it's interesting that Catherine said her older brothers abused her, but that didn't really have any details. To be honest, psychologist hat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this right off the bat. I don't know.
Mm.
With her in general, I'm like, every time I start to think, oh, it could be this or oh, it could be that, I'm like, dear God, I don't know. I think this might, well, I have questions like when was the frontal lobe trauma? And,
Mm.
you know, do I think it's possible that that could have happened? Absolutely. I don't think that her not remembering details means it didn't happen. I also wouldn't put it past her to lie. So I don't know about that. But I think I'm not saying it doesn't matter whether it did or didn't happen. Obviously, it's horrible if it happened. But I think the bigger point here in trying desperately to create any sort of profile for this person, which I think in this case might be virtually impossible, but it's the fact that Ken was routinely assaulting
Mm.
Barbara, Catherine's mother, and sexually assaulting her, and that Barbara would tell the kids graphic details.
Yeah.
I almost think that it's akin to Ramirez's uncle or cousin. I can never remember, but you remember how he had gone to Vietnam and he came back and he
Right.
showed Ramirez all the pictures of the like women that had been brutally raped or tortured. There was beheaded women. Like he
Right.
got shown these at this point in his young years that I always think that that had a piece, a large piece of this whole puzzle for him. And I think for Catherine, there's something to that also, because I think when your caregiver, especially your mother, is outlining being sexually assaulted by your father or stepfather, whatever, it doesn't really
Mm.
matter. I think telling a child that in a formative time, because I think she likely was old enough, like it's not like she was like a toddler, like she was old enough to understand enough.
Right.
I think that's a piece of
Mm.
all of this
Mm-hmm.
because that's horrifying.
Oh, yes.
As a little kid who's supposed to feel safe with their
Mm-hmm.
parents, there's so many levels to how damaging I feel like that would be. The fact also that she was bad at school, she was a bully, she beat up a male classmate, she also seemed to have, assaulted a teacher in some way. This is all adding up
Mm.
to the childhood. I just think the details, being told the details from your mother about how she was assaulted by your father or by your stepfather, I think that'll do a lot to a young brain. And then
Sure.
I'm like, when did the frontal lobe trauma happen? I think it has to have.
Oh, sure.
And then there's a fixation that I haven't been able to put together yet. And again, my quick assessment of this person as a non-expert in the field. Um, Dropped out at 15, got her dream job at 16 working in an abattoir, loved it so much, kept getting promoted, became a deboner, was gifted knives, which she hung above her bed. At this point, she's
Hmm.
there. Like at this point, it's the building blocks have all happened. Like in my opinion, at that point,
Yeah.
she's having fantasies. There's no question in
Oh,
my
yeah.
mind. She's
Yeah.
having fantasies. So part of me thinks, could it be because her mother had this male abuser that she fantasized about hurting men? I think that's more than possible.
Mm.
I think it's also possible, given her long track record of being quite abusive physically with her male partners. It feels to me like the root of that can be that she was taught as a young child that men are predators and in a way that is, in your own home, like you need to fight them before they hurt them before they hurt you, that kind of
Oh,
thing.
sure.
Hanging the knives above her bed to me plays into that too. Honestly, like it's like to me, it was like she's doing everything to be as tough as possible because she's probably terrified of men. That's given the fact of what her mother had been telling her. Again, I'm all
Mm.
speculating, but that's what we do here. Um, and then, of course, when you add in the next detail, which is Catherine gets married and gets so mad at her husband for being too drunk, not because he was so drunk on their wedding, but because he could only have sex with her twice, which, again, I feel like twice on your wedding night is quite a feat. But saying that her mother told her about doing it 6 times on her wedding night,
Mm-hmm.
again, if we know that as a child she was being told these things by her mother, and then we know this to be true, imagine what just a normal Tuesday was like in that house.
Oh, yeah.
Feels to me like there's some real dysfunction, which, if we wanted psychologist hat Barbara for a second, I'd say being married at the age of 13 to a 26-year-old man probably did a number on her brain, putting it out there.
100%.
So again, as we know, abuse cycle, hurt people, all of these things. It feels to me like there was damage done to Barbara as a child, and then she passed that damage on to her own children. Um, because it's also interesting that one of Catherine's brothers also was an abuser. Now, what's interesting about that is he was going after children, which is
Mm.
interesting because he was a male and he was constantly being told that this father figure is his mother is saying this father figure is beating me and sexually assaulting me and all of those things. And the daughter being told this spends a life where she eventually, well, spends a life lashing out at men and then ends up killing one. And then the son that gets told all of this goes after children. And to me, it's just such proof that that whole thing, that whole toxicity is the root of both of them. Because I think for
Mm.
him, he was like, well, I've been told that men are bad and that men do bad things. So I guess,
Sure.
right? It's a way to
Yeah.
feel powerful. He was comparing himself to how powerful this male figure in the house may have been. Again, big
Mm.
speculation, but by the way, not justifying anything at all, just trying to get into the why of it.
Of
Um,
course.
and I think the bigger why of it is that they were pretty fucked up. I think this is a pretty fucked up family,
I can't
to
even
use
begin.
a colloquial term.
Yeah, I can't even begin to think of what life was like growing up there.
It has to have been pretty bad, I think.
Yeah, I
Has to be
assume.
pretty bad.
I also like throughout all of this, every once in a while, I would just stop and go, my God, she has a twin sister.
Well, I wrote
What's
down at one point,
life like for that twin sister?
get out of my head, because I wrote down at one point, oh my God, she has a twin. And as you know, a lot of twins talk about this phenomenon where they like have this kind of psychic connection. And I'm like, did they have that?
Oh, I have to assume that she's like, I need to get as far away from the
Yeah,
public eye as humanly possible, which
100%.
understood. Yeah.
And I think what's also interesting is the abuse cycles that Catherine found herself into as the primary abuser, or what
Mm,
sounds like the primary abuser. Catherine and David. David leaves her for another woman. Catherine has this complete wild mental breakdown, including leaving their baby on train tracks. And David left the new woman and came back. Like, that's a pretty powerful abuse cycle, right?
yes.
To then get back in it again and get back in it again. I also thought, and I wrote this down, I thought it was fascinating that when David was asked later, he said, I something along the lines of, I never laid a hand on her. But we know that the whole relationship, she had been beating him. Now, there's a lot of things we can say here. Obviously, of course, there's stigma and, male victims of domestic violence. I think, I'm sure are not reporting. To
Sure.
be clear, female victims of domestic violence are also not reporting.
That's
Um,
true.
so, but I just thought it was interesting that he's like, I never hit her. I never laid a hand on her. And it was like, David, she's been beating you this entire time.
Right.
Like he just trying to make it seem like, covering that up, which I just thought was fascinating. Um, Again, she starts dating the other David. David Saunders moved in with her and her daughters. I won't get into it, but was very violent with him, killed his puppy in a very violent way. And then they went on to have a child. Like these cycles, these men that she's getting into.
Yeah.
And I'm not judging anybody, by the way. I'm just pointing out that it's like this woman was quite adept at attracting people that would do these dances with her, or that she viewed as people who perhaps she could manipulate, you know?
Sure.
I just find it always find that kind of thing interesting. Um, that she found men, and clearly she chose them for the reason where it's like she'd beat the shit out of them and they would take it.
It is interesting that so many of them chose to stay for as long as they did. I mean, no judgment either way, but and then one guy knew enough of like, when I get out, I have to hide because she will find me otherwise. And I can't
Yeah.
begin to imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. And listen, that obviously again in abuse cycles, it's not uncommon for a survivor of that kind of abuse to stay, to not get out. Like these are all common themes. It's just interesting given, the fact that she was so violent, um, which I feel like is again, statistically speaking, not as common as you'd think. Um, the detail too. I think what's interesting about John Price, her final partner that she, as we know, went on to kill. He took that first aid kit home. She took a video of it, which got him fired. It
Yeah.
feels as though she was trying to control these men, and a lot of them just let her, and or they were in that toxic cycle. But with John, he broke up with her. He's like, "You got me fired. It's over."
Yeah.
Like he kind of set a boundary. Now they did end up getting back together, but then he was still setting a boundary where he's like, "But you can't move in here."
Right?
And it feels like that's the first man that had set a boundary with her. So it's
Mm.
interesting to me that that's the one she went on to kill because the first person that
He
she
pushed
couldn't,
back.
right, the first person she didn't have full control over, she was like, that made her snap. It was like,
Oh,
fuck you. Here we go. Because she'd
right.
also clearly been planning it for a while. The fact that she had told people she was doing it, told her brother she was going to kill him, she was going to pretend to be crazy, like all those things. It's like she had stabbed him in the chest before during a fight. Like again, it just feels very much like she was working herself up. Not in a way that she had to
Right.
work herself up to gain the nerve. Quite clearly seems like she's always had the nerve, but it was like, I can't believe it. Like this fucker kicked me out. I can't believe it. He's not letting me move back in. I can't believe it. Well, this guy's gotta fucking die. You know what? I'm gonna kill this fucking guy. Like she may not have thought about it that literally, but it feels like that's what this whole time was for her. The fact that she took the kids out and was like videotaping the kids. Hope I get to see them again. Like it's like she was
Mhm.
so premeditated in this, which is why it's so funny that she claims to not remember it.
And that she said it was self-defense.
And by the way, if it was self-defense, that still doesn't mean that you then have the right to do everything that I mean, where are the desecrating of a body charges? Like there's so many charges you
Oh,
can have for, you know,
yeah.
all of that shit. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna go over all the details again. I just will say coming into a set table with place cards put out with his children's name
Hmm.
and then knowing that what she was doing while she slept in the other room.
Yep.
I know she took sleeping pills, but still, it's like fairly unaffected. And we know that she had told people that she was planning to kill the kids too. It feels like she was waiting for them to come home, and then she was. I mean, I don't know what her larger plan was for that, but
Mm,
to your point, thank God they didn't come home to that scene. Because I think it's
yeah.
one of the most twisted things I've ever heard. This is like prolific serial killer level staging of the body, the
Right?
scene, the things she was doing to the body. Like
Hmm.
it feels like it goes into like, you know, some level of psychosis, but it's deranged.
Oh,
It feels like again, it was like again, psychologist hat, not a professional. I think she ruminated about this her whole life. I think she
yeah.
thought about killing her whole life. I think the abattoir is proof of that. I think the violence is proof of that, that it was just escalating. Like, I think that she had a plan and had a fantasy that she played out because that level of detail doesn't just come in heat of the moment. Putting out
Right.
place cards and having a whole plan with a cooked meal and all of these things.
Hmm.
That's not just, by the way, also, I don't want to get into the details again, but the things she did to the body are going to take some time. Even if she's really good at it, she's going to take some time to do these
Yeah.
things. Like, it wasn't just in the moment she was improvising. She'd thought about this. She'd planned this out. And I think there's a version
Yeah.
of this she'd probably been thinking about since she was quite young. That's my psychologist hat speculation. How do they know they watched Star Trek and had sex? I'm assuming that when she pled guilty, she told the whole truth, the whole story.
I do believe she told them that because, again, to her thing is she'll tell them everything that happened up
Right.
until him actually being killed. And then she's like, just, I don't remember that. It was like, then we went to sleep and that was it. And
Do
it's
I
like,
think there's a planet on which someone could black out after that kind of crime or not remember it? I do. Do I think she did? I absolutely don't. I absolutely don't. I think that she's some level of psychopath, and I think she probably really enjoyed it. I don't think that she would have not remembered it. Because the other thing too is like she was found mentally fit to stand trial. Like, I'm not obviously there's mental illness involved. Of course, I'm not saying that there's not,
sure.
but I don't think this is a case of like she had a psychotic break and then voices were telling her to do something. Like, I think that
Right.
this was a plan that she had had for some time. Well, we know it was because she told people.
Right.
But I think this is more of like a personality disorder and diagnosis than like a fluke freak mental health episode gone way too far. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't like
Right.
sometimes you'll hear about people who are like doing meth and then end up committing some heinous crime and they're like, I don't really remember. That's possible. I don't think that's true here. I think she remembered it and I think she liked it.
Oh,
Again, the details of every step that she went through, the fact that we know she loved working at the abattoir. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I don't think a lot of people who work at abattoirs love it. I think a lot of people do it as a job. I think somebody
yep.
really loving it is a red flag.
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine a lot would love it.
Yeah.
I can see people being like, I tolerate it because it's what I do for a living. But someone who's like, I live for it.
Yeah.
Like that's concerning.
Yeah. The fact that during the trial she started rocking back and forth and screaming at the video of the crime scene, I don't buy it. I think that's all theatrics. The fact that she had also told her brother she would pretend to be crazy. I think it's that simple.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that there was any. I don't think there's. Again, I don't think she's upset by this. I think that she lived out her fantasy. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And by the way, her behavior in prison is all part of this. I wrote down, I was like, she's just gaslighting everybody. This is all part of it. Like, I bet
Mm,
you $1 million, she gets off on being the nana, being super nice to everybody. And because everybody's like, why she's so nice. She's so kind. Like, she gets off on the fact that she knows that she's a monster and she's pretending to be kind to everybody. Because I don't think she's actually kind. I don't think this person is
sure.
capable, right? Like, I think that that's all part of her specific personality disorder. Is that it's like
Oh,
I'm capable of doing these things. I have these fantasies about doing these things. I'm going to carry them out and then I'm going to make you all think you're crazy. I'm just going to be the nicest person you've ever met and I'm going to make everybody think that anybody who thinks I'm a bad person is crazy. I think it's just continuing her manipulation and control. She's controlling everybody.
oh yeah. If she's the one that's considered in charge
Right.
in a prison, yeah.
Well, and the fact that her mood, right? That it's like she's manipulated everyone into believing she's so great. So therefore she's maintaining this sense of emotional control because it's like everybody likes her.
Right. Uh,
And I just wrote deranged, twisted.
oh yeah. I mean, when I read the part about like, well, she's not allowed to be near knives, and I'm like, I hope most violent offenders aren't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was happy that they pointed it out, but I just
Yeah.
think she should stay put.
Yeah. Oh, she should never get out. She will recommit. But that judge that said that she wouldn't get any better, like, yeah. Oh no, no. This person feels no remorse for this crime. And again, I know I keep saying it, but I'm like, nobody commits that level of crime who doesn't love what they just did.
Right?
There's nobody, Dahmer would talk about how he didn't like the killing. The killing was like a necessary evil of wanting to fully control somebody, which he did by eating them.
Right.
Connection? Fully control, just saying. We think she maybe ate some of him, just saying. Um, but again, like, I think she enjoyed the killing. I think that that's all
Mm.
part of it for her. And I think that if she ever got out, I guarantee it. I guarantee she would kill again because this was her first kill. And as we know, people who kill typically don't just kill one time. They do it once and then they're like, oh, I did that thing that I always thought about doing. I really would like to do that again.
Well, especially when it wasn't just murder.
Right.
Like it went so far beyond, and to your point, the time it would have taken to skin a body and then even prepping all the food and then prepping the flesh. Like
Well, you
I
also said
just
partway through she went out and got money from the bank, which they've never recovered, but that was like partway through the crime.
from my understanding, she stabbed him and then when he left him while he was dead, I and then went to get the money and
And then
came
came
back.
back and
Although, yeah, and then spent hours doing all of that.
so that's the other thing. She had a cooling off period. That's the
Yeah,
other reason why it's not a crime of passion and it wasn't in self-defense. Because she walked away and if it
and
was
then
one of
came
those things,
back.
she could have cooled down and be like, "Oh my God, what the fuck did I do?" whatever. And then that's usually when we see a killer hide a body, bury a body. She wasn't trying to hide a body. She was displaying it all around.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
listen, my assessment of her mental state could be absolutely 100% incorrect. I have to make this clear. I am not a professional. I just am an enthusiast. Um, I just think she's got a lot of markers that seem like this is like a deep personality disorder as opposed to something lighter. Not that any mental
Right.
illness is lighter, but you know what I'm saying. I'm like, no, 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 no. Keep her in prison. Keep her in prison.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
to. And I also just have to say along that note, very quickly, her piece of shit brother Neville,
Mm,
the fact that he's eligible for parole in 2031, all of those crimes against children,
I know.
lock him up.
Oh, yeah, keep him there.
Lock him up. I don't give a
Keep
shit that he's
him
74.
there.
He should have been in. This is like, he could still be alive in 2031, and I want him alive in prison for the rest of his life.
100%.
If it's one of them, if it was one kid, rest of your life. But
Agreed.
with him, it was so many, and he got 8 years.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Not justice, in my opinion. Not justice at
No.
all. A serial child sex offender,
Yeah.
80 some, one of the things was 80 plus charges.
Yeah.
Rotten hell, you son of a bitch.
100%.
Again, I've said it so many times over the past few episodes. Mandatory life sentence. Mandatory life sentence.
Yep.
Child sex crimes, rapes, sexual assaults. Let's do it. See what happens.
Yeah.
Try to make a deterrent. How about that? How about you just try to make a deterrent to committing those heinous crimes? Just try.
Yeah.
Do it for 5 years. See what happens. I guarantee you the numbers will go down. They just will. If it's like if you do this, you will go to prison for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Because it seems the ones who are like, I don't want to go to hell, seem to think as long as they go, I'm sorry, forgive me, that's enough to wipe that slate clean.
Yeah, I mean there is some talk of that in I believe the New Testament. Yeah, I know. Well, not murder specifically, but the idea of ask for forgiveness and
And then that's just it.
will cover you in his blood and.
Uh-huh.
But listen, I know I'm with you. It would, I mean, it is one of the 10 deadly sins. 12 deadly sins, 10 deadly sins, 7 deadly sins, 7. The movie was called Seven. 10
Seven.
Commandments,
I was gonna
7
just,
deadly sins.
yes, there
That
you
was where
go.
I messed up.
You got there.
I
You
was
got there.
picturing
The
Moses with the
scroll.
tablets, and I
Oh,
was
the
like, that's
tablet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, no.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, clearly I didn't do my annual rewatch with Mother Laurel of the Easter movies. The
Oh,
Ben-Hurs, what was the other one? You know,
I've
doesn't.
never seen Ben-Hur.
Yeah. What's the other one where it's all about Passover? God damn it. What is it?
I can
The religious
guarantee I
Easter
haven't
one.
seen it.
What's the super popular Easter religious movie?
I pray it says Hop.
The Ten Commandments. It was right in the name.
Oh,
What was I
wow.
thinking?
I've never seen it. Hop, I have seen. Because
Hmm.
that has an attractive Marsden in it, doesn't it? I mean,
Isn't it a
technically, there's two Marsdens that I know of, and I find both attractive. But one really had like a big like people were really noticing him in the last bit. The one from the Notebook.
James?
Thank you. The other one was DJ Tanner's super rich boyfriend on Full House.
Thank you
Or
for giving a little head shimmy when you said
he
that.
wanted to be her boyfriend. I don't think it ever worked out, but I don't know. But yeah, he was rich. He had a helicopter or something. I don't know. He wore glasses.
This is derailed. I think we're processing a trauma, which was this
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think good for us.
Yeah. Why
And
not?
listen, and good for you, dear listeners, for being here with us. We thank you so much for joining us for this. This was a tough one.
Yeah.
This was a tough one. But listen, you know what? We're all better for it.
Yeah, look, we got there. We had a crime that was a female suspect this time.
Yeah.
Um and we if nothing else, we got to talk about birds and we learned some fun facts about New South Wales.
I can't wait for people to see the hot pink slugs. They're pretty cool. From this hot pink slut. Get out. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already, give us a follow on the socials on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at True Crime and Cocktails, on Twitter at Not Detectives. If you'd like some bonus content, go to patreon.com/True Crime and Cocktails to learn more about our subscription-based service over there. And of course, the only place for official True Crime and Cocktails merch is, of course, truecrewmerch.com. So check that out as well if you're interested. Christy, do you want to tell the people about next week's episode?
On the next True Crime and Cocktails, American Nightmare.
This was our April patrons poll pick over on patreon.com. Our patrons get to vote for one of the episodes that we will cover here on the main feed of the show per month. So, again, check that out over there if you're interested. Christy, do you want to say goodnight to the people?
Ah, good night, Philadelphia.
Oh, good night, frogs. Yep, all of them.